On paper, if you were to trace the lineage of all the muscle cars that we know and love back to one vehicle, that car would be the Pontiac GTO. The GTO is considered by many to be the father of the muscle car era, sticking the brutish American V8 engine into a mid-sized, muscular-styled two-door coupe. These Pontiacs defined a generation and have captivated enthusiasts for decades. And while many people think the Pontiac GTO as we knew it met its demise in 1972, that was actually not the case at all. In fact, the GTO itself was still rolling off the assembly line the year after, in 1973. But history has all but forgotten about these cars, so we felt that it was our job to pull back the curtain and shine some light on the most underappreciated and underrated muscle car of possibly the 20th century. This is the story of the GOAT forgotten by time, the 1973 Pontiac GTO. 1973 and going into 1974 were pivotal years in the history of American automobiles, and as most would reference, not for the better. This is when the radical redesigns that swept through the American car market began. The Mustang, Camaro, Chevelle, Torino, and virtually every single American car got a new crash test compliant redesign that featured an obtrusive set of bumpers paired with an anemic shell of a V8 that was now prepped for low-quality unleaded gas and that was choked out of all of its performance potential under the guise of the environment. And for the GTO in specific, 1973 was the beginning of the Colonnade years, which was a new styling type for any A-body GM product built from 73 to 77. This new body style featured a radically different roofline than before, and even included opera windows and other very period design choices on certain cars. The bumpers grew in size, the interiors were more luxurious looking than ever, and to be honest, if you lined them up with their 1972 predecessors, they looked totally different. With virtually all of the A-body cars sharing the same shape, it became almost ubiquitous across America. But the GTO itself was actually far from a common sight, with just 4,800 GTOs being built for the 1973 model year. People were receptive to this new design and fresh body style, but in the performance department, there was no hiding that things weren't all good. No matter which way you try and spin it, these cars in a straight line were slower across the board than their 1972 counterparts. With that being said, however, the 73 Pontiac GTO did still remain as a bastion of performance in the Pontiac lineup compared to the Le Mans. The 1973 GTO was available for purchase with two large displacement V8s. Those were the only options. The base model GTOs would come standard with a 400 cubic inch L78 code motor that could also be found in form in the Trans Am. In the GTO, however, this engine only made 230 horsepower thanks to its low 8.2-to-1 compression ratio and its tragic emissions devices. But for the buyer that wanted the best engine they could in their GTO, they could option their car with the 455 cubic inch L75 V8 with the D-port heads. But even with the extra 55 cubic inches, this top-dog GTO motor could only pump out 250 horsepower, even while still breathing through a big 4-barrel carb. Note the 455 available in the 73 GTO was not the awesome 455 Super Duty motor that was available in the Trans Am for the 73 and 74 model years. So in the GTO, behind your fire-breathing Pontiac V8 that really wasn't breathing as much fire as it could have, you could have your choice of either a 3-speed or a 4-speed manual transmission, or even an automatic. The unfortunate catch here, though, with the transmissions being that if you wanted the bigger displacement 455, then you would have to settle for the auto. It's actually pretty interesting. You could really build your 73 GTO a few different ways. For the most engaging driving experience, you might have gone for the 400 with a 4-speed and the 342 geared safe T-track rear. And if you wanted something that was more docile, then maybe you would have chosen the 455 equipped GTO with a much longer 308 rear gear if all you wanted to do was cruise in style without a care in the world. When it comes to performance, the 455 GTOs would be able to run around a high 14-second quarter-mile time, while the 400 GTOs were in that mid to higher 15-second range. 0 to 60 for the 400 cars was around 7.5 seconds, and it was more towards the high 6, low 7 mark for the 455 goats. All the GTOs for the 1973 model year actually did come, though, with power disc brakes up front and drums in the rear in order to help slow these heavy 3,900-pound beasts down. So while on paper power wasn't really the strong suit for the new 73 model year GTOs compared to their 72 and earlier brothers, there was actually still one thing that they were better at than their more powerful relatives, and that was handling. With this new A-body platform, GM actually spent quite a bit of time on the chassis engineering itself in an effort to make the handling characteristics of these cars far better than the former ones were. The GTOs themselves got a thicker set of sway bars as well as some stiffer springs than the base model A-bodies, which only added to its handling prowess and really made it a night and day difference when it came to handling compared to even a 72 GTO, which is part of what makes the 73 GTO such a unique piece of American automotive history. At face value, looking back, we kind of think the muscle car era was dead by 73. At least that's the prevailing sentiment. And we don't pay much attention to the cars of the years after. And while this GTO was down on power compared to its predecessors, these GTOs were actually probably, dare I say it, an all-around better car than the earlier ones were. Sure, not for any bit of light-to-light high-speed racing. The prior cars were definitely faster, without a doubt. But for a car that you could get in and go anywhere with, while still having a big torquey V8 under the hood that somehow didn't handle like a main battle tank, is something to applaud. Especially with the GTO switching to the GMX platform in 1974, that means the 73 GTOs are only the 1-year production run for this body style, with 4,800 total being built, and get this, of the 4,800, only around 500 of them even came with the 455, which makes these cars pretty rare. But we haven't gotten to the best part yet, the price. These 73 GTOs, in my opinion, are severely undervalued when it comes to virtually any other GTO ever. Looking at past sale prices, it appears that solid driver quality 73 GTOs can be found for around the $20,000 to $25,000 mark, with exceptionally nice unrestored examples with low miles going for about 50 grand on the high end. So the question is, if you had, let's say, 25 Gs lying around, would you go out and find a nice, clean 73 GTO to drive and enjoy, or would you spend 25 grand on a worse condition 72 GTO and earlier and restore that? Let us know in the comments down below. But that brings us to the end of the short story and even shorter production run of the forgotten GTO. If you enjoyed this video, we would greatly appreciate it if you could drop a like and also share this video with other enthusiasts. Also, please make sure that you are subscribed to the Rare Cars YouTube channel and smash the notification bell for more documentary style videos just like this on the world's most interesting cars. Until next time, enthusiasts.